Yeah, that's part of the reason I didn't hugely... Despite liking Margot Robbie conceptually, I did not enjoy her take on Harley Quinn. It was just too irritating, including the voice.
I think Margot Robbie does fine.
I think she does a character I don't particularly like fine, which is why I was surprised how much I am enjoying the Harley Quinn animated show, which is your one from fucking Big Bang Theory.
What do you mean the one from Big Bang Theory?
Kaylee Cuoco.
Oh, is she the voice of Harley?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
And she does it really well, I must say.
She does.
I've got my issues with Big Bang as a series.
Is it that it's wank? Is that what your issue is? Yeah, that's me. That's the issue I have too.
Not even so much that, but like it goes from after a point it stops being a show with jokes for nerds to being a show with jokes about nerds.
I don't agree with it generally, but for Big Bang Theory specifically, there is a two-level Venn diagram of shows that are for versus about smart people and for versus about dumb people. And there's an argument that Big Bang Theory is a show about smart people for dumb people. So it's very harsh in its humour, it's very mocking.
Yeah, I concur. Although that being said, like the number of people that when I tell them, like the normies, that I play D&D, they're like, oh, the thing they do in Big Bang Theory. So I don't know whether that's overall a positive influence. I don't know.
I mean, D&D's definitely become a thing.
Oh, it's much bigger than it used to be. Even in the last like 3 or 4 years, it's huge.
Yeah, Stranger Things had a big impact on that.
It did.
I was ranting about this the other day to my brother, the stag, but D&D is doing so much stuff. Like I swear when like 5th edition started, it was like, you'd get a book every couple of years, whereas now there's one. I feel like there's some new crossover book every like couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then I was seeing some other thing with like, so Magic the Gathering, like the card game, has done like a crossover with 40k. Like there's a 40k set of like Magic. It's like I feel like every nerd thing that requires selling you physical stuff is all constantly doing massive crossovers and bringing out so much stuff. Because, like, if the core of your franchise is not, $1 billion movie that you release every couple of years, you need to sell people books or tiny bits of plastic. They're just churning them out so much, and it's with all of those things, it's making me feel like, fuck.
That's the comic book
Exactly,
phenomenon.
yeah. That's kind of what I was going to circle back around to. You just got there faster than me. And it's just like, for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, that's a surefire way to, like, put me off a thing.
I think actually the hobby D&D is in a really healthy place, and if the way that if the road we had to walk to get to this healthy place is wizards flogging me stuff I don't need, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I take your point. I think it's a point well made. Alright. They're not going to move, so I guess we just have to do this.
We can do the distracting, okay, or not. Because I haven't actually seen you do the distraction.
I'll do the distracting thing on the last guy, but I think I can just sneak up behind these people. And they are fools, because like this isn't difficult to get to the.
That shouldn't have worked. I'll be honest.
I'm Batman. I'm a ninja.
In this surprisingly well lit church. Or whatever. This is supposed to be.
It's an entrance hall.
Atrium.
Whatever.
I feel like if it's this gothic, it's an atrium.
Here we go. A sonic background. Let's see how this works. So I think there's a cooldown on it, but there we go. He will be hassled by the sonic batarang, and he'll go over there and investigate, or at least he ought to.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
Can you
oh no, there we go.
Yeah.
Off he goes. Come on. A little bit further. A little bit further. Glide kick! Oh, I'm so good at swooping.
You enjoyed that far too much, Bob.
You're right. We knew he was going to fucking love this.
Yeah.
Again, right. Genuinely, if anyone comments on Sonic in the future being like, what doesn't the Bard hate? At least I now have a series I can just point them at and just be like, you know what, this is the Bard going full, I'm a 15-year-old boy and this game is written for me.
I mean, this came out, what, 2009 you said? 13 years ago? I mean, you
were 16.
I was a 16-year-old boy when I last played this, so yeah.
So absolutely, in fairness, yes. A rare case where the answer to Bard, are you in fact a teenage boy, was accurate. I do like how you've got the gap in the cape now.
Yeah, like, with every subsequent encounter, like, the Batsuit is grubbier, which I really like.
Yeah, I like that the wounds in it aren't, healing. Yeah.
I mean, of course, it now begs the question, how can he possibly glide with massive holes in his cape? But, like, hey, he's Batman.
There's a really interesting argument about that with pterosaurs, like the flying dinosaurs, about whether one of the reasons that feathers developed rather than like wing membranes is that it's much harder to fly. with a wing membrane when it's remotely damaged compared to feathers, and that's a bit of a problem that bats have. Bats are a really weird case in general with so much stuff, because, like... So you know how, like, COVID probably came from bats?
Yeah.
Bats have huge numbers of diseases, and there's this thing of basically, if you as a bat are not in, like, perfect health, you'll be killed almost immediately by all the diseases that are kind of just sitting around on you waiting.
Oh.
Birds have a similar kind of thing. Flight seems to be a thing of, like, the physical demands of flight on a body. So, like, have you ever just seen, like, an old bird that looks like it's kind of dying?
Yep. Pigeons all the time.
Oh, fair. I was going to say it's something that's not generally that common. It's usually just, like, birds are either in very good health or they just fucking die.
That's fucking creepy.
What was it? I couldn't quite read it.
This is acted by Drew to the Thomas, who is it's just a headstone, but like there is I'm sure there is the legacy of this island is well and truly buried, and I'm pretty sure that there's a little riddle solved in this graveyard. There we go. Subject obscure, blah blah blah.
That's that one. Oh, it's Amadeus Arkham.
Amadeus Arkham.
There we go.
No, there's no way. You can't find them all. It's impossible.
Now you notice, like, the more Riddler like puzzles that I solve, the more indignant he becomes. So he starts to be like, "There's no way you'll find them all." To be like, "Shit, you're starting to find them all."
This is really interesting, and looking at the game now, I can see it because I was complaining about the green earlier. Obviously, it's Batman. It's got to be dark. And they designed the game with a very kind of brown, muddy, monochrome colour palette and realised it didn't quite feel right. They wanted to get the feel of a comic book across.
Oh.
So they kept the environment very dark. Most of the colour comes from the lighting.
Oh.
That the light is where colour and saturation is brought into the environments. And now I've read that, I can kind of see, like, it's why the light is kind of really green and yellow and things. It's actually where a lot of the colour is coming in.
Yeah.
There's a rat there. I think that's a riddle.
Especially when you've got, stuff lit up in detective vision and all of that.
Yeah,
It's all about lighting.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
I know that one of my all-time favourite facts about the animated series, like the one that we talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Basically, the whole voice cast for this game worked on the animated series together. And Paul Dini, the writer for this game, wrote the animated series. But one of the things that's really unique about it, they wanted it to be dark, and they drew it on black paper. So like the animators took reams and reams into black paper, and that's what they worked from.
So it's almost in like a negative space. Then.
Yeah, which is that's just rad, especially for like a Batman show.
But that's the thing. I suppose working with a dark canvas makes you explicitly draw out the light and whatnot, rather than having to do shadows and shading. It's like, it's an interesting philosophical approach of the opening being. This sounds really fucking pretentious, but the open.
Oh no,
starting from dark rather than from light.
Sorry, guys. It's an art technique that they teach you quite early on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
Drawing on dark paper is a very different drawing experience, and it's all
For making
about
you think about how light works, basically.
and making you reface how you draw. So it's using that to be like, this is the feel we want to go for, and it's just being aware. Yeah, if we want it to be dark, start with black paper and go from there, because that way it'll show what we have to highlight.
It's only one of the things that I've really appreciated in the last couple of years, or year or so since I've been painting Warhammer, is like how much of being good at art in a way is basically just doing a lot of thinking and study on just how light behaves.
Yeah.
Because you just colors, and it's just like you spend ages looking at a model and you just think like, okay, if this were full size, how would the light play around these edges? That's what I've got to exaggerate with my highlighting. Like, you can see why arty types of people I know basically if they were doing something like this, like the sprite's over in the corner knitting, but they'd probably just be sketching stuff, and so much of that just seems to be sketching how bodies work and how poses and things work together, and just how light play works.
Yeah.
Is most of the studying that makes you good at art. It's those two things, I think.
I mean, that principle feeds really the same way basically into drawing character models for video games, or being an animator. I work. I mean, the university I work for has an art school, and apparently there's a massive overlap between people who start off studying illustration but end up doing animation.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the skills are understandably very transferable.
Yeah. There's a lot of it's just understanding the proportions of how humans look and stand is going to be very... Making them move isn't much of a step beyond that. Both rely like on the base being there.
Yeah.
Like the proportions and the kind of the logic of anatomy. These guys are really putting much of a fight, aren't they? As in, they are putting up a fight.
It's just that I'm really, really good.
That's it. They all seem to not be staying down. Is the point? Oh, he's gone to sleep forever though. Oh no, and then he got kicked in the back.
The bar's going for dramatic.
I think, for years, because I never viewed myself as a particularly artistic person, I think I was always like, oh well, artistic talent is just something you either have or you don't have, and you're kind of basically born with it. It's literally only while I've been doing, design stuff for the channel, but also like Warhammer and things like that, that I'm realising the extent to which artistic skill is also just a practice thing.
Oh yeah.
My sister, who's a music teacher, has this argument. She's like, people think of music as being like a talent. You either got it or you don't.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not really true, because like you can develop that skill and you can learn certain things. You might not be a world-class musician, but like you can improve.
But usually it's pushing through grueling practice, yeah.
Do I want the remote control Batarang? Nah.
It does sound like fun, but I appreciate that it might not be the most practical thing.
Let's do it like the Batarang power, sure. I've kind of got all the upgrades that I want now, so...
As an update, by the way, for the viewer on the wizard's staffs, I'll take a photo and Sprite, there's going to be a lot of you just asking me for photos on this. That's where we're at the moment with these staffs. The bard is slightly behind me, it looks like, but I took 3 of my cans and poured them straight into Das Boot, and I'm still finishing them off. So I gave an early lead, which frankly put the fear of God in him. But
yes, it absolutely did.
But it's actually pretty even so far, except for that I just have to sit here and look at Wikipedia, whereas you've got to be competent at a game. So
here's one of the really tricky Riddler puzzles. There's a bunch of them like this across the island, where you've got to like align the dot of the question mark to like the stem of the question mark, the branch, and you gotta get it just right, and then boom.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Some of them are fiendishly difficult because you've got to find the perspective from which you can see both.
Yeah.
And it's not always obvious.
Yes.
It gets even harder in the sequel because like it's a bigger environment and like, there's more vantage points and
It's an interesting thing as well. Like one of the things apparently that they took directly from. Did you ever watch Sprite My series on the Metroid Prime games?
I think I tried, but I got distracted.
But one of the things that this takes from the Metroid Prime games exactly, which it really does, is there's no loading screens in this, and it just cleverly uses corridors and transition areas to like seamlessly unload old stuff and load new stuff in a way that feels pretty smooth.
That's very cool.
And I must say it's done that really well. Whereas like Metroid Prime would be sometimes you open a door and it just waits for 10 seconds before opening it. It's like, okay, you haven't got a black loading screen, but I can tell that you're loading, but this has done it really well. Also, apparently they had a real complex process for whether they do cutscenes or not. Apparently there's a very specific rule is a cutscene has to either significantly change a character or change what the player's goal is.
Oh.
Otherwise, they don't do a cutscene, it's just still like a you move around in gameplay thing. Cutscenes have to like mix things up a bit because they just were like, we don't really want to take control away from the player unless we have to.
You will see that we'll see that very dramatically in a brief moment or two, I think, but yeah, that absolutely does hold up now that you say it. Like,
yeah.
I would never have thought of it in those terms, but like you've heard it from the mouths of the developers themselves.
Yes. It's been cool reading some of the developing stuff on this, actually. If I were like you, I would have rehearsed this, researched this beforehand rather than doing it live on my phone while I'm here.
Script.
He didn't have a script. He had notes.
I had a couple.
Do you think this man ever works on a script?
I don't script.
Yeah.
I think lots of YouTubers do very successfully working from scripts, but like we've genuinely never done that.
We joke about that a lot with like when we've had a bad episode, like sometimes the stag will just be like, God, the writers really couldn't get their shit together in that one, could they?
If you're watching this thinking it's scripted, then you need your head checked.
Yeah. And if this was scripted, boy, we need better writers.
All we've got is us, I'm afraid.
Oh, look
and Batman.
How Gotham is that? Like that grimy mirror. Batman just had a men's bathroom and.
This is an unusual design they've got. Like the really grey design, like black cowl and cloak, but like grey thing. It feels like that's a bit more unusual. Or is that the Dark Knight's?
No, it's very classic Batman. That, like, the Dark Knight Returns Batsuit is like blue. He's got a very blue looking.
Well, that's what I think it was like the Adam West ones was very blue.
But this grey is what I think of as the proper Batman look.
Yeah, likewise.
I think because my main experience with Batman was like, it was Adam West growing up, and then it was like Christian Bale ones where it's all very black.
No, the Batsuit is quite often, even in like more recent Batman comics, is grey.
It's kind of greyish in animated series, isn't it?
Yes, it's a grey suit and then black cowl.
Yeah.
And a bright yellow utility belt.
Yeah, because I knew it was yellow in there, yeah.
The best Bat logo ever.
2 people, 1 voice, no gun.
What makes it the best Bat logo? Is that the one that's got all the little points on it?
It's
like the spikes.
Looks like a W.
What the hell is going on in here?
No, but like a bubbly W. The Arkham series, Batman, the animation series, Bat logo is the best.
Apparently, like, I read this, it's not read, it's in a Batman comic called Batman R.I.P., which we'll talk about, but one of the reasons that like he leaves the bat symbol, you know, that sometimes got a yellow logo around it? Like, one of the reasons that like he keeps that on is like intuitively his enemies shoot at it, and like there's an armor plate behind it. So like if he gets shot in the chest, like they hit him in the most armored bit because they intuitively fire at the bat symbol.
That's very... The psychology's on point there, certainly.
Yeah, it's basically like a reason again for writers to explain, like, why does Batman leave this ridiculous yellow thing in the middle of his chest? Oh, it's because he's so tactical and clever, but... What the hell is this? A gun locker? Right, okay.
So is that yellow one there, is it? In the middle, like the circular yellow one.
Yeah.
On that one, yeah.
Look at all these...
Yeah.
Like,
that is what I think of as the classic bat symbol. Note here, Sprite, to put up the bat symbol through the years graphic that I've got at the moment, but yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think of the yellow and black as being the classic bat symbol.
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons I like this Batsuit. Like, it has a nice classic feel without feeling ridiculous or too comic booky.
Those are the options for bar.
Oh, okay. Anyway, we're about to meet a character we have long anticipated.
The Green Mile, eh?
Yeah.
Stephen King book.
Stop, Batman, please! You've got to help my babies!
I'm really not interested in a bunch of
this is before they got the Brave technology for curly ginger hair.
Yeah. I think our hair is meant to be moving though, like it's alive.
Just stay where you are.
It ends up looking wet like a lot of women's hair does in games of this era. Mass Effect has exactly the same problem.
I'll save you.
And no game has yet mastered how like slightly curly hair looks.
Yeah.
I wrote whenever I tried to make myself in a game's avatar thing, there's no option for like slightly wavy mousy hair. It's just not a thing that games have got good at yet.
So here's Ivy. She's like crying away.
Yep.
She doesn't like her babies being hurt. You'll find out what that's about in a moment. But yeah, she's one of Batman's more powerful adversaries. Like, people underestimate like just how powerful Ivy is.
And as we touched on earlier as well, I think she's become much more of like since the 90s, much more of a kind of. Is she really a villain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that they still lean hard into the sexual element. Because like, she's still like a temptress and a seductress. And it's like, well, no, actually, her goals are quite noble. And you don't really need to do this.
But no, you gotta be...
But she's been Frank Millered,
yeah,
so...
it's Frank... I was gonna say it's Frank Miller, so you gotta have... Every woman is either a femme fatale or...
Hey.
Actually, that's more of a Mark Miller
It's
thing,
right.
isn't it?
Who's your favourite character?
I beg your pardon.
Look, it's Aaron Cash. What's he doing here?
Why is Cash my favourite character?
Oh.
It's me,
I don't know.
I'm needed out there.
Oh, yeah, it's not. Oh, it's Clayface.
There we go.
Get me out of here.
Even I figured that out, and I've not seen this game before.
Where?
Oh, nice cast iron radiator, isn't
Man,
there?
get me out of here.
Can you tell I've recently redone the central heating system on the house?
See how the way you can tell.
Creepy hands, yeah.
The way you can tell it's Clayface. He doesn't have a skeleton.
Neither did Ivy. Not Ivy, what's her face? Harley.
But that was only because she went off camera and clearly her model was removed for RAM reasons, whereas he doesn't have a skeleton because he's made of goo.
There you go.
Good job. Please keep it to yourself. I've got a reputation to keep up. I'm the only person here you can rely on, Batman.
When you come
Yeah,
back,
the Alan Tudyk variant in the Harley Quinn series is very much the actor, and he's very kind of like flamboyant and ridiculous, and so the sprite doesn't.
And theatrical.
The sprite doesn't like it because she feels it's fucking with the character that she loves, but I think it's a brilliant rendition, I must say.
I'll not spoil it for those who maybe haven't played it, because the first thing you should do after finishing this series viewership is run out and play these games, especially like the sequel is brilliant as well. But there's a wonderful line in the second game where Batman's Oh,
Sorry.
Forgive me. Confronting.
Sorry, did I do that to you? I burped and you gagged. Sorry, continue.
It's okay. But this wonderful line where Batman's fighting Clayface and he says, like, why did you do it, Clayface? And he's like, for the role of a lifetime! And then they fight and it's rad.
That's exactly what the Alan Tudyk version would do, right?
Yes.
Alan Tudyk is also voices the Joker in the Harley Quinn series.
Oh.
Have you seen Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes. Oh, hang on. Here we go.
Gee, you look like crap. Maybe I can sneak you some shampoo.
The plants, can't you hear them? They're crying out to me in agony.
Yeah? Well, I really don't have time for this.
Please let me out. They'll die without me.
I don't know, Red. You're not on Mr. J's party list. Oh, well.
Please!
What the heck? I'll cut you a break.
Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh.
Just loosen these bonds a little bit. Always ends well.
Is she wearing plants for pants?
No, I think she looks like that. Oh, she's got some wicked tights. Those are the options, yeah.
All day, what a riot! And speaking of riots, here's a bit of civil unrest I cooked up just for you.
There's a TV show where you can watch them together all day if you want, Joker.
Yeah.
I don't think he means that sexually. I think he just thinks in terms of chaos. I mean,
Yeah.
most versions of Joker are pretty asexual.
But yeah, you've seen Wreck-It Ralph, right?
Oh, yeah.
Alan Tudyk's like Candy King, like slightly manic thing is basically what he channels for the Joker, and it works really fucking well.
Is he Candy King?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
And it's the Wreck-It Ralph is one of my favourite films.
It's really
good. It's good, but it's fucking horrific in some bits. Like literally at the end when Alan Tudyk's like, "Let's watch her die together." It's like there's something where you're like, Jesus Christ, this is ostensibly a kid's film. Like it's so fucked up, and I love it.
Here we go. I've now got the gadget that lets me get through the security gates, which
Excellent.
is just what I wanted. The cryptographic blah blah doodah.
And is what you also want another cider.
Absolutely, dear Doctor.
I tried to offer that and you were all like, no, shoo.
Oh,
away.
are you gonna get a cider?
I was literally pointing
Oh,
at
I
the
thought you were
cider.
telling me to do it. Oh yeah, I'll have a beer while you're up there.
No,
please.
you're going now.
Ah, feck's sake.
You missed your fucking window, bitch.
Bring me the cider, Robin.
I'm not your Robin.
Yes, you are in this series.
We haven't talked about Robin yet. Maybe there's a reason for that. Let's talk about him in a bit when the Doctor gets back. But maybe we'll take a break right now, viewership. Regardless, wherever you are in the world, take care. We love you. Have a good night. Like, share, subscribe.